Career College Readiness is one of those programs that's become pretty well known in the community, and it's caused a lot of schools to rethink how they structure and use their resources. And we have been dedicated to career college access work at SMU since 1966. We actually have some of the oldest running college access programs in the country, so we're really proud of our legacy. But we're anxious to hear about what you all have been doing, because we know that in a rural district where resources are not as plentiful, you have to make some very tough decisions. So Lauren's giving me a little bit of background about your programs and what you've done, but we want to hear from you all. And so we'll just let you all open up the conversation, and we can go in whatever order you all prefer. But look forward to hearing about what the change process has been.
Thank you. It's interesting that this topic is, real for us, and I hate to even say this statement out loud, reluctantly, but the accountability system, the newest one, gives us the opportunity to see how the state, anyway, is measuring how we're producing college and career and military-ready students. And but in that accountability system, there's two different ways that you really can go about it. And rural schools really struggle for this. I feel that you can, as an administration, decide you're going to tunnel it. You can make the narrow pathway that every kid has to go through to qualify, as the accountability says, they are college and career or military ready. They all can take the TSI test, or take the ACT test, or take the SAT test. You can force them all to do it, put in interventions and strategies so they all get that qualification and check you've got your good grade. But is that really the best thing for all kids? But the other challenge for us was, the college and career readiness standard, the career readiness standard, through House Bill 5 and all the other changes that have happened in education. There's 16 different pathways to getting kids in that career readiness standard. And as a rural school district, the ability to offer all 16 to our kids is almost impossible. So trying to figure out how we can expand those pathways, and instead of tunneling the pathway for all our students, her accountability, widening it. And no matter if it's for 2 to 5 kids that have a business mindset, or if it's 100 kids that want to seek an ag certification or an FFA certification of some kind. So that began our discussion. Is, okay, we have accountability, we want to be an A district. What's the best plan for us initially and then eventually? And so we went at it 2 different directions. Let's gather our data analysis, and let's start with our 8th grade students. Do they even understand what a pathway is and the critical decisions they're going to make? Because for those of us that were in high school 15, 20, 30 years ago, you took your elective classes sitting around with your counselor saying, okay, what do I just want to take? What's that last class? Prioritize what you get and see what happens with the schedule. We have to be much more intentional now. We've got to have conversations about what are you interested in, and make sure it's purposeful all the way through. And then we found through this accountability system how many kids were 1 class away from completing a pathway, just because it didn't work out with their schedule of the extracurriculars that they wanted. And so then it becomes master scheduling analysis. So this all started with first initial data analysis, and began conversations from our counselors to our students, one-on-one, about the pathway, so that they would understand, the counselors were on the same page, and we put deadlines and dates for every junior we have the conversation with now, every sophomore, then every freshman, and how we begin the conversation with our 8th grade students that are now making those decisions. So we're at the early stages of this, and it's ever evolving. I think Dr. Mann gave a great indication of how you can embrace your resources in your community to maybe even offer more. The relationship that they're building with UT Tyler to offer social emotional support, it goes even further for us in offering career and college and military readiness. But we do have to start somewhere, and I'm being honest that we have to start somewhere with where are our boundaries that all students have to be between, that for what we can offer what we can afford to offer, and how we can get teachers with the proper certification, what do we have to put, our lowest, or I mean the boundaries between that every student's going to fit in between. And then eventually how we expand those boundaries, step by step, through surveying kids, through analysis of our data. We've done surveys about, for instance, and for example, we've done surveys about, are you interested in law enforcement? We have a lot of interest in it. We created a class and very few kids signed up for it. So we've got to find another way to get them hands-on interest, because we know they have the interest, but the introductory class isn't the answer. Whether it's an ROTC program or that starts in a junior high, something military-based that aligns with what they want. But we can't, as was also stated, you can't just say, hey, that's a good idea, let's create a position, hire the position, and hope it works. It takes a lot of time and effort to make sure you do it right, or it's going to fail. So we're at the early stages. Our boundaries are pretty narrow, and the accountability system provided us information. It's interesting because in Bullard ISD, we had last year, it wasn't last year's graduates because it's always 2 years behind, but the year before graduates, when we weren't graduates, we weren't really analyzing this. And our assumption in Bullard ISD is that we have so many kids going on to junior college and college, that we just graduate high-level kids. And when it came back in the readiness standard through the accountability system, we were at about 58%, and that blew our minds. And so we dove into the data to see how many kids were so close from accomplishing that qualification for the way they were measuring it, and we weren't addressing that last step that they really deserved and needed. So it pointed that out for us, but trying to make decisions that financially and hiring teachers and staffing correctly so that we align to our students' needs, our community expectations, and assumptions. I think that was the biggest thing that came to light, is there's a lot of assumptions. We have a great high school, great kids, they're all going to college and they're all going to graduate. Well, we've learned through this that rural schools really need to analyze that data. I think what you heard earlier is we may not have as high a dropout rate. We have good attendance. I would dare say that if you analyze in rural education how many kids actually graduate with a degree, is assumed a lot higher than the reality. Because that transition to college is difficult from a rural setting. Speaking as a parent, to go from a graduating class of 200 kids to a freshman class of 7,000, you get lost quickly and it's easy to quit. So there's a lot of things that we want to try to put in place to make sure that they're equipped to make that next step. And this was just ground level work, but everybody on board. I think next steps, I want to cover that, is we have to educate our teachers in what college and career military readiness is, because they're the ones that have the individual conversations with the kids that are willing to talk about their future. A counselor or 2 counselors or 3 counselors or administrators are never going to cover it all. It's just a pathway and they become a number. Kind of educating everybody will be the critical steps moving forward for us. That's what Bullard ISD has had to embrace this year.
Good morning. I'm Jim Moore, Superintendent of Wells ISD. Wells ISD is a small 1A school district in Cherokee County. We're on the opposite end of the county from Bullard. When I left yesterday, we had 294 students. I don't know how many we'll have today. It could be less. This is my 4th year as superintendent. My first year, we inherited a school district that was, our elementary was IR, our high school was IR, and our district was IR. And I took the job anyway because I saw the potential. I had been there previously as high school principal, I left and came back. It was a great transition for me and my administration team, that during the term that we were IR, it was the old accountability system transitioning into the A through F accountability system. And we saw Index 4 coming with CCMR, and we felt like we had a lot more to offer our kids. At the time, we had the standard dual credit program that a lot of you have probably used in your district, where student qualifies for a dual credit program, and then they are reimbursed based upon the grade that they make, 100% for an A, so on and so forth, down to probably a C. And so first bit of data analysis that we looked at was how many kids were we averaging over the last 10 years that were going through some type of dual credit courses at Wells. And it wasn't surprising that because we are historically about 72% economically disadvantaged district, that we only average about 4 kids a year that were taking those classes. So we threw out a very broad question. How many kids would qualify, how many kids would participate in dual credit, either vocational or academic, if money was not an option, if the district paid for everything once they qualified? And so that was our first part of our strategy. We looked at starting our Power Leadership program, which we said we're going to pay for the tuition part and fees part out of our general fund, and then we're going to start an endowment, a 501c, and see how much money we can get going to help our kids pay for books and supplies and materials. And so this is our second year of offering our Leadership program. Last year was our first year. This senior group is going to graduate with over 450 college hours. We had 27 total students participate in dual credit or vocational programs last year. Now I can say that that's, I could give you a percentage, which would be, we had 44% of our high school kids, but at Wells, we only have 78 kids in high school, so it's all about, perspective. However, very proud of that fact. We funded our endowment with donations, fundraisers, and I told the staff that we are going to be looked at from other organizations on how much influence, how much backing does the staff have. And so we started a payroll deduction opportunity for our staff. We have 54 employees at Wells, I think 32 teachers, and since we started the payroll deduction, we are currently up, I think, $680 a month that our employees put into the endowment. So eventually our goal there is to be able to pay for some of our qualifying teachers to go back and get their masters. As you see, we're looking at adding adjunct staff. Increased student opportunities has been outstanding. We have we're looking at adding a vet tech program next year. We have a welding certification that they can get. We have CNA and phlebotomy, all there at Wells. We've gotten grants. We started a one-to-one initiative, 4th grade through 12th grade, that was funded through the state's technology lending grant. We have a grant through T-Mobile. Next year, at enrollment, every student, pre-K through 12, will have the option of taking home a hotspot for free. Some of the barriers that Dr. Knight addressed earlier for rural schools, we're also trying to address. The student parent community buy-in, part of the leadership plan is that every semester that a student is taking dual credit or vocational classes that we pay for, they have to do 10 hours of community service, and that has really taken off. Our local churches, our local pastors have been involved to help us with that. The community has needs, and no one's more aware of that than our pastors. So, short term, obviously, like Todd talked about, improving our CCMR. First year of data, we had a graduating class of 10, and so we didn't have any room for error. Every kid at least had to give us a half a point, and we were shooting for a full point. And so planning is very important. Last year's seniors, we have gone back and looked at that data, and because of the actions that we took with developing our this program, we're going to, I think we only have 25 kids that we'll look at for that data, and all but 4 will give us a full point. And there's 4 kids. 3 kids will give us a half point, and we'll have 1 kid that came in before snapshot or during snapshot day that was he had dropped out and came back to graduate in December. So our next steps, again, we currently have 3 adjunct professors with Angelina College. Angelina It's about 22 miles away. Nacogdoches is about 25 miles away, which is Stephen F. Austin. We have students that take online classes at SFA, Angelina, and UT Permian Basin. But I have 3 teachers who are adjunct professors with Angelina, and we are looking to, we teach anatomy and physiology for non-allied health certification, college algebra, and our welding. Some of our welding classes are dual credit there. So the access for our kids, the resources, we've kind of had to think outside the box. We are a property poor, student-rich school district, and we felt like this is something that surrounding school districts are not doing, so we have to kind of, recruit, like Mark talked about. You have to get your brand out there. You have to let people know, hey, since we started this program, our turnover rate has gone from 47% to 8%. Our enrollment has increased, and so we feel like it's we're moving in the right direction as far as addressing some of our barriers, but more importantly, offering our kids a quality education to be part of the 21st century workforce.
Wonderful work to create some change in your districts and really address some of the expectations of business and industry. Superintendent Schneider, you talked about the advising process, and one of the things that I tell graduate students is if you want to be a school counselor, you will not spend a lot of time with students. You'll spend a lot of time on administrative duties. And so what we emphasize with the schools we partner with through SMU is creating a college-going culture. So you kind of alluded to that this is just not the work of the counselor or the assistant principal or the principal. It's going to take all school personnel to really create this change. So what are some things that you're looking to do to have your teachers be part of the college-going and college readiness and TSI preparedness conversation?
It's a great question, and basically the short answer is we have an advisory period that we've added to our high school, and our current principal has the vision that you will have the same advisory group all 4 years. And even at graduation, that teacher will walk that group to the stage and escort them to the front and then off of the other side. So they build a relationship of getting to know them on that level and have those conversations. And it's twofold, the benefit to that. We have a Choose Love curriculum. We've implemented Capturing Kids' Hearts, so we're kind of trying to address the social emotional piece to it, but as well as the CCMR advising piece to that staff member that's going to have those kids. And it's a real conversation for that freshman year, those freshman advisors and that teacher that gets, I have this class for 4 years. It happens, and that's stressful for them. I mean, you've got to be ahead of the ball game as far as managing those teachers that have, and we all have, in our business of education, we get groups that sit together and they'll just express and get to know each other that quick, that well, and other ones that are very hesitant to buy into the adult and the other students in their classroom. And that's why we added that Capturing Kids' Heart piece. Is we're really going to start it in the freshman year. We try to embrace how the social contract that they learned to grow through, and that advisory period is just going to be a key part to their educational decisions. And so that's how we're going about it. Again, he's the first year there. This is in its first steps of making that happen. But we think that that's the best plan for Bullard ISD. I wanted to mention this because Mr. Moore did too. We're a 4A district, 2,600 students, just south of Tyler, in a very potentially fast growth area. They have recently added a toll loop around, and a lot of the growth is happening business-wise in White House, and we're contingent with them. But we have neighborhoods going up fast, so we also have to prepare for that growth. And that's a big transition for small communities, because when you're a single high school district, your community owns their high school and they're protective of it. And when new people move in, it takes a while to break those barriers down. And so that's an added dimension to it. that our teachers will have to work through in those advisory periods. But we think that that's a good plan for us right now. Get the data analysis, let the counselors kind of work through making sure their schedules are on the pathway. But those advisory teachers are going to be critical in their training and their knowledge and those relationship skills with that.
Wonderful approach to creating that continuity for the students. And I can only imagine some of the concerns with your community about the growth and what that will mean. And when I was in Bentonville, Arkansas, a second high school was added the year that I moved to Dallas, and you talk about fear and trepidation. I think Bentonville is still standing, but you talk about community outcry, and the debate over what to name that high school was ad nauseum debate. So I can only imagine what's coming your way, but it sounds like you all are moving ahead with a forward-facing vision, knowing that the community is changing and the school district has got to change as well. Superintendent Moore, you talked about some of the specific programs you all have. Specifically, I heard Vet Tech and CNA, which I think is very appealing career options, and there certainly is a career ladder opportunity for students. And I think some of the big challenges we have with career and technical education is illuminating those pathways for students. So what are some of the things that you all are doing to help students see those career pathways, and that this is a way to graduate high school, receive a little bit of training from the community college, enter a family-sustaining job where you can earn a decent wage to support your family, but also see upward mobility, especially in nursing, because CNA is one of the few pathways that we don't do a great job in society of helping people go from CNA to LVNs to RNs and beyond. So what are some of your thoughts about how we can do better and kind of instill that motivation, especially with our secondary students?
Well, we're very blessed, again, that being as close as we are to Angelina College. 4 years ago, AC sold Dr. Gary Friary. Well, he was already retired, but Gary Friary was associated with San Jacinto College System in Houston for 20 plus years. And they have a world-class vocational program at all their campuses in San Jacinto. He retired, moved out to Lake Livingston, and somebody from Angelina found him, recruited him, and brought him to Lufkin, Texas. And they, with his vision and the university's vision, they have upgraded their CTE programs. They've spent about $3 million upgrading their facilities and adding programs. So 3 years ago, when he came in, our health sciences director, Ms. Bonnie Denman, there at Wells, her status in Angelina County is that if you don't know Bonnie, you're not doing the right things. And so we have her on our campus. She is a great attribute to our district. She arranged that we started 3 years ago taking our 8th graders and 9th graders and 10th graders to tour the CTE programs at Angelina. And then once we started the next year, when we actually started the program, we said, let's up this. We started taking our parents of our 9th and 10th graders as well. And as Mr. Jolly talked about a while ago, a lot of parents didn't know CTE from VTE, from SFA, but there was food involved. And hey, now we've got participation. And so living with something tangible, seeing what that lab looks like, seeing an actual professor, asking, what's the job market like for this? How many people are you employed? What's the hourly rate? Who's hiring? For robotics, who's hiring for drafting, who's hiring the welders, who's hiring for AC, HVAC jobs, and seeing and actually pulling in to the university. Because a lot of our families, they've never been to university, they've never been to a college. Talking about going on campus is scary for some of our families. So just walking on campus and realizing, oh, this isn't as scary as I thought it was going to be, and letting them have that opportunity, not once, not twice, but 3-4 times, really has helped us to get the word out. These are the opportunities, and they're real. It's not just us telling you. Now you're seeing it, and it's tangible.
Yeah, I know for our department that college visits are one of our best motivating methods to help students stay engaged and want to transition to college. And in fact, we host many high school juniors on campus this summer, so we look forward to that because we feel like the college experience is one of the best ways to get them prepared. So the fact that you're stepping that forward with the parents so that they see it's a reality, that it's something that's within reach and tangible, is certainly meaningful. I always say that with our programs, if we can help a student make a change, we very often see the parents come back and maybe pursue further education or complete that college degree or even that high school diploma. So it's interesting how that one person, that one family can really affect generations before and after them. So we'll take some questions from the audience for these two gentlemen. Their programs, I wish we had more time to really dig into the details, but honestly, some forward-facing, innovative ways to rethink career and technical education and college access and readiness. So we'll just take a few questions from the audience.
I just have a real quick question for both of you. It sounds to me like you're both in growth communities, accelerating growth communities, and I'm curious to know the kind of industries or businesses that are coming in to populate the area.
Bullard is in a fast growth, but it's really just bedroom right now. The infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure, once that grows, we actually have, like any small rural town, we have a main drag, FM 2493, but TxDOT is buying up the land alongside, and it's a 2-lane road. It will be a 5-lane road in the next 5 years, and that's coming out of Tyler. And if you look on the north part of where we're at, they've already done that, and the business expansion has just taken off once it went to that type of transportation structure. So in 5 years, the commercial industry in our community will take off, and that will change funding for the school. We look around, and Lindale and White House are both here, and we're contingent with White House, who's on the south side. And you can look back 10 or 15 years ago to see what happened in their area and how they expanded to this, and that's what we're trying to base our predictions on what the growth will be. Right now, it's just houses. We're Bullard ISD in Smith County anyway, our appraisal district, we have the highest average value per house. But that's because we're really a 1 acre build your own house kind of community right now. But when those industries start to come, we'll have more townhomes and duplexes and all those fast enrollment growth type of housing. And so trying to prepare for that organizationally is really where we're at in Bullard. We've made a lot of administrative change since I've been there. I've been there 5 years now. Just preparing for, so we have the structuring, because if we do it after the kids get there, we're too late and it really gets hard to. So we do a lot of learning from Lindale and White House because it's right around us. We've seen what they've done. And that's how we're preparing for that fast growth. But the commercial industry has not hit yet. So we're a very high tax rate because the houses are funding our schools.
My story has a few more, takes a little bit different tour. This time last year, Dr. Field was in Wales. And my phone was blowing up because one of my friends finally realized where I actually worked, in Wales. If you Google Wales, first thing that's going to come up is the Church of Wales. It's a real deal. It's a big deal. It's a cult. They're not from Wales. Literally, that's where the bus broke down. 2013, when they came to Wales, they created a stir. If you go to their website, they're scared. But the negative impact that they have on our district is, did I say that? It is a choice. They got give the ADD the microphone. Anyway, they've taken up all of our rental property. They have bought a lot of the houses that our families could afford, and so we opened up, we changed our transfer procedures a couple of years ago. And we've had and we've also been able to hire, because of the endowment, because of our leadership program, we've been able to hire teachers and staff that have 3, 4 children that they bring with them. So we have historically, we had a roller coaster enrollment. When I first got there, the year before I got there, we were ADA on snapshot day was 317. Snapshot day, my first year there, we were 272. And so that's hard to plan for, it's hard to budget to start some of these programs. So you go back to trying to recruit, retain, do something that the other districts around us are not, so that we can continue these programs, but a little bit different dynamics to his growth and my growth.
Well, I don't know that we could top that. But being from the Bible Belt of Louisiana, I can relate. So we'll leave that one right there. So thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your stories and your insight about how you are going about creating new opportunities for your students and your community, aligning your efforts to industry and business needs and expectations. So very, very wonderful stories, and your students will certainly benefit for your forward-thinking vision, and also just to create that trust with your schools. I think that's what this work is all about, is schools and business industry leaders having that trust in what we're able to do with public education. So with that, thank you. Please give these gentlemen a round of applause.